Call this meeting to order, please. It's Tuesday, May 28th, 2013. I'd like to welcome everybody back. I hope you had a pleasant weekend, albeit probably not dry. I'd like to get going a little bit just to make a couple of, take some chair initiative here and make a couple of announcements. The committee assignments, as you see, we do have new seating assignments. We played a game of musical chairs a little bit earlier this afternoon to decide where everybody's going to sit. And then there's a couple of committees changes that are due primarily to the leadership change in leadership here on the council. The fiscal committee will be chaired by Sue Aguilar, and Dean will just step down now as to a member of the fiscal committee. And then also the operations committee, Michelle moves to chair of the operations committee as the past chair of the council, and Sue will fall off. Dean is a new member as vice chair of the council. So, and then Rex was elected at the last council meeting to serve as a council person at large, so to speak, on the operations committee. I do ask that the councilors please look at your committee assignments and take the next couple of weeks here. I would like to make an announcement of if there are going to be any changes at the second meeting here in June 11th. I would like to make the announcement of what the committee changes will be at that point in time. So the weekend prior to that, please have all the information to me so I can contact you that weekend if I'm going to be making committee changes. So I'd appreciate that, please. Is there any other City Council open discussion at this time? There not being none, I would also add that Councilor Aguilar and Staggers did call in. They will not be present at today's meetings. They had other arrangements, other engagements at this point in time. With that being said, I'm going to call our presentation for this month is on the Event Center, and Mark Cotter, I believe you're going to kick it off. Please.
All right. Thank you, Council Chair and Council members. Today we like to take the opportunity to give you an update on the largest construction project happening in the city, and it's moving along very well. Before we advance through the slides, if you can just take a look at the main entrance, that canopy area on your screen, and then that area that extends into the front of the convention center. That'll be a complete new drop-off and very close ADA parking for the convention center, but also really tie in nice to the campus. We'll have some other discussions on this as we process through, but now you start to visualize what some of those parking and drop-off areas are. And so before we started to advance through, and our focus is to complete primarily the parking improvements on both the north and south side of the event center this year. There'll be some additional parking lot work done next year that's closer over to the Sheraton. All right, we've captured these aerial views monthly by our title sponsor, and so we'll get the opportunity to have a few good perspectives from aerial view. And so here's a good shot. Let's give you a chance to look at that with the neighborhoods around. A lot of activity happening on site. Another good perspective from Dakota Aerials, everything that Mortensen has done this in a clockwise fashion, very organized methodology from the foundations all the way through setting the steel, the decking, pouring the deck floors, and now with Fegan Construction setting all the precast stadia. It's just in a very nice organized fashion, and this gives you the upper view. If you look at the site yard, just take a perspective of how organized, how clean, that all relates to people have adequate space to work and a much safer environment. All right, highlights of recent bid pack 5, which is the low voltage, that's IT cabling, that's speakers, that's a number of those types of aspects they're due in this week, so we'll start to review those proposals. We have successfully negotiated the scoreboard, video board, and outdoor marquee with Daktronics. We are planning to go to Lincoln, since Lincoln's event center is essentially a year in front of us. So it gives us a good perspective of where they're at with relationship to us. Also gives us a chance to really see their finishes. They're expected to open in August, September timeframe, so they're really starting to wrap up their building construction and gets us a chance to see how that's gone. They have the same constructor. They have Mortensen Construction as well. They have a different design architecture team, so we'll get to see a different flavor of finishes, if you will. And then significant construction milestone that's ahead of us here, late July, early August. We expect to be setting those large span roof trusses. They're 270 feet long. They have a depth of 28 feet, and they're almost 100 tons each. And so the truss system that will span this building will be a big event. Okay, now we just have a couple of pictures to show you. This is on the north side, looking south toward the event center. You start to see not only is the structure up and those large stair wall constructions up, but we're also starting to put the exterior sheathing on. So that's essentially what the metal panels will attach to, and then ultimately we'll put the windows in. And again, the goal is to have this building up and dried in by the end of this year, so we can actually be on its own heating and air conditioning system. So for the work in 14, we can just be focusing on the interior work of the building. Okay, this is a picture taken from the top of the convention center looking toward the new event center. Just to give you this perspective, you can see the precast stadia not only been set on the north side for the lower bowl, but the upper bowl. You can start to see where those vomidors allow the access from the main concourse into the seating area. And you start to see, too, the floors in this area have been poured. Okay, it's a good shot of the precast stadia. They're being made locally by Gage Brothers and being set by Fegan Construction. And this area right here in the center, see where that big leave out is, that's one of those open clubs to the bowl. So you'll be able to actually be in the club and not miss a minute of the action looking into center court. All right, as a part of the process, as they move around clockwise, once they set the structural steel, then they set the decking, and that's the metal horizontal decking that you see on that main concourse. Once the decking gets set, then the electricians come in, they run their conduits, and then Pesca Construction comes in, puts all the rebar in, re-steel, and then they start to pour the decks. Here's a shot of Pesca Construction's team pouring one of the deck pours. They do on average 2 deck pours a week, and that's been progressing since they've begun. You can see the metal decking that they're standing on as they start to move, as they start to pour the concrete. That's that metal decking that we talk about. There is interior construction happening. This is on the north side. This is this brick wall that you see that has the metal studs and the sheetrock above it. That essentially behind that's all back of house. That's where the mechanical, electrical, ice chillers will be to support the building. Start to see a lot of building mechanical equipment on this back wall. But you can see the local mason, which is Jensen Masonry, did all that masonry work and looks very well. Mortensen is complimented again. How well they've been to work with, and the local subcontractors have really performed well with building this building. All right, one of the questions last time that we presented to you was, what have we done, or what decisions have we been making to improve the fan experience? We talked about early on that we have secured the video package from Daktronics. If you recall that we were moving forward with just a center hung scoreboard, and we were able to secure that, and that was also utilizing the $2 million donation that came with the title sponsorship. The red ribbon board that's shown there, that's a part of that package. There's also a large exterior marquee. But also that was not in our budget is these 2 end wall scoreboards, and that's going to be just, again, enhance the facility, enhance the fan experience, provide more opportunities to put stats, player information, just more video up, especially when football's happening. And so we wanted to make sure that you've seen that. we've been able to secure those inside our current budget, and so that did not go above our current digital budget for the building. All right, the other fan experience that we wanted to highlight to you is that we sent a whole team down to review sports lighting. The sports lighting that's been common to the industry for years and years and years is on the left. That's essentially incandescent bulbs with shutters. And then the new technology is LED, and that's on the right. Has much better lighting, and we've been able to secure this within budget as well. We're going to get an extended warranty, very reputable lighting manufacturer, and we really think that from a fan experience it's going to be an enhancement. It's also a nice benefit that you can, these kind of lights use about 60% less in energy. And so it's going to save this building a significant amount of dollars as we move forward and operate it. All right, and then on parking, my last slide is just steps that have been taken for additional parking. With your support, we secured the right-of-way vacation of Russell Street, which allowed us to use some of that public right-of-way to build a number of stalls on the north end of the campus. As you drive out there today, we start to talk about the enhancements that will happen in front of the convention center, be a much better drop-off system than what exists today, and then it will also have a lot better ADA close proximity parking. And so that work is underway. All that large berm that was out there, half of that's been removed, and so we're starting to prep that area for utilities and eventually curb and gutter and pavement. And then the additional parking lot that we laid out to build on the school district site, which is right at the operational center there, that's complete. It was used for the state track meet, and so I know the school district was very appreciative to get that used. They also shuttled patrons down to McCart parking lot. So site's working well, and to expand on parking, I'll bring up Mike Cooper.
Good afternoon, Mike Cooper, Planning and Building Services. During construction, we continue to have events out within our facility, and we continue to try to monitor and coordinate parking issues as they come up on an as-needed basis. So far this month, we've had two major events at Howard Wood Stadium. On May 3rd and 4th, we had the Dakota Relays track meet. And although the weather did impact the attendance, still it went over very well with the construction. At the same time, on Friday night, there was graduation with Southeast Technical Institute, and they actually provided their own shuttle service. We haven't received any numbers as to what usage that shuttle service held, but we are going to try to get those numbers to kind of see how that went. And then on Saturday evening, there was a Storm football game. So we had concurrent events during the track meet for both Friday and Saturday. And again, the coordination of parking, by meeting ahead of time with the different organizations, it worked out pretty well. The comment that we have heard is that during the track meet, people that came from out of town that maybe were not familiar with the surrounding environment, along with the Russell Street construction, probably had more challenges than others, but the local people, for the most part, did not have any trouble finding where the parking spaces were available. And then on May 24th and 25th, we had the state track meet, which again was impacted a little bit by the weather. As Mark said, we did have a shuttle service that was done by Sioux Falls School District over to McCart Fields. What we're trying to do is educate people that these other off-site parking spaces are available, and they're relatively close by, because actually it's closer to walk from McCart Field to the stadium than it was some of the neighborhood parking that people historically continue to use in that West Sioux area. And as Mark said, the operational services parking lot, which is just under 60 spaces, is now available for usage during their non-office hours. So overall, again, we've had good success for these two events with parking. And I'll put a plug in for this week. We have the Rib Fest starting on Thursday, and they will continue to use their parking lot up in that northeast area that they've used traditionally for the Rib Fest. And even though we have the construction, we believe that there's going to be enough adequate parking in the area. And then today we had another coordination meeting with SMG and the Canaries. The Canaries Stadium, there's been some questions about parking. On Friday nights when they have their fireworks displays, the parking lot that's across from the left field area is closed off for the fireworks display. So we want to make sure that people know that when that parking lot is closed, that there's going to be other alternative parking spaces to the west. And again, McCart Field, when that's not being used for baseball, that's in a close walking distance as well. So we continue to have a lot of success with parking coordination. And after the Rib Fest, we'll probably have a lull until we get more into the fall season with major ongoing events. So next in line is Darren Smith to talk about premium seating and other sponsorship updates.
Good afternoon, Darren Smith, Director of Community Development. About a month ago, we took our next step in the area of premium seating when we launched the Loge Box sales effort. We did that on Wednesday, April 24th, and launched that effort much like we did with the luxury suites. It was on a first-come, first-served basis, very similar, if not identical, process to that. We had 16 Loge Boxes in the inventory, four four-seat Loge Boxes at $12,500 annually. We had 4 8-seat Loge Boxes at $24,500 annually. And then we had the remaining 8 Loge Boxes, which were 6 seaters at $18,500 annually. The entire inventory of 16 Loge Boxes was committed to in 29 minutes. So they went even faster than the luxury suites, which was a very positive experience. Once again, there was a diverse mix with respect to the terms that were selected by those who purchased the Loge Boxes. Of the 16, 6 of the 16 were committed to the maximum 10-year commitment, and then the remaining 10 Loge Boxes, those owners selected the 5-year agreement. We also offered a 7-year agreement, just like we did for the suites, but there were no takers on the 7-year agreements. This sales effort will generate approximately $300,000 annually for the new facility, and then there are annual escalators depending on the term you selected with each Loge Box. So that number will actually go up in future years. This is just to give the public, if not the City Council and the audience, visual representation of what a Loge Box looks like. The reason I wanted to do this is because for whatever reason with Loge Boxes, we have had that question much more so than with the suites or the club seats or anything else we're doing. Just what is a Loge Box? How do you pronounce that word? What comes with a Loge Box? And so this gives you an idea. This is from the inside of one of the larger Loge Boxes looking out into the bowl of the new Denny Sanford Premier Center. And then finally, the next steps, we've tackled naming rights, as you know, luxury suites and Loge Boxes. Really the two major categories we have left in terms of generating private revenue and investment in the new facility, and in fact all 3 facilities with the convention center and the arena as well. The remaining 2 will be club seats and sponsorship opportunities. The sponsorship effort, we have already started having initial meetings. This will be a very different process than the suites or the Loge Boxes or even the club seats. There will be a number of sponsorship opportunities of all sizes, and this will be handled really over the next 12 to 18 months by Legend Sales and Marketing, where they will have a series of meetings and phone calls and other communications with businesses and individuals and others to secure those different sponsorship packages. But we're very optimistic about the demand for those already. We'll probably do some kind of formal announcement around sponsorships in June, again, just to give the public a sense of what exactly those opportunities are and how this process will work. And then finally, the club seats. That'll be the last premium seating product that will get sold. My best guess would be very late this year, or perhaps even early 2014 is when we would go on sale with that. The reason primarily is because we can't launch that effort until the seating manifest has been completed, and that has to do with stuff in Mark and Kendra's world with purchasing the seats and where those seats will be and how many and all that sort of stuff, that level of detail. So we can't go forward with club seats until that happens. But again, very optimistic about the market for those, and the market analysis that was completed. And so we've got several months now to figure out exactly what that effort will look like and the details, the inventory, the pricing, and so forth. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tracy.
Good afternoon. Tracy Turback with Finance Office with the financial summary segment of the Event Center update. The top part of the slide here that depicts the project funding sources hasn't changed for some months now. That looks just as it did, I think, since about last August or September or so. So we're not looking at any changes in the project funding of $117 million. The bottom part, we have seen some significant changes over the last couple of months. Since our last update, approximately $9 million has been expended on the project. So the construction, as Mark described, is really hitting its stride. We're spending about $1 million a week on the project. And to this point, about $24.3 million in total has been spent, and that's about 21% of the total project budget. And as I've been saying for some time now, the construction line is really starting to take off. You can see that's at better than 17 million to this point. That's up about 8.7 million from 2 months ago. So the construction is moving along very well, and the financial numbers certainly reflect that. So with that, I believe we're ready to open it up for any questions. We will be back in a couple months with our next Event Center update on the 23rd of July. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I would like to remind our viewing audience that this is an informational, a council informational, and we do not take any public input or questions at this time, but I do open it up to the city councilors. Are there any questions that anybody has? Councilor Jameson.
I have a few questions, if I could. Start with Darren on the premium seating. Darren, another job well done.
Thank you.
I should have you work with my wife to help raise some revenue for our house. But I was wondering if you could help on the on your slide here for the premium seating sponsorship update. Could you tell us what the and maybe in the future slides just include these numbers all the time so we have them for the naming rights secured?
Yes.
I'd like your annual approach.
Yeah.
Can you go through those top two and just tell me what those numbers are for now, but then in the future maybe include those just...
Yeah. No, it's a good point. In fact, as soon as I sat down, one of the things I wanted to say was that those three check marks, and I think this is what you're getting at, those three check marks represent more than just three check marks. Those three check marks represent a minimum of $1.8 million in annual revenue and private investment. And then, of course, we'll see what the next two, when we check the next two boxes off, what that will get us to for a total. But it's a very good start, and it's ahead of where, those initial projections a couple years ago or more, where we thought we might get to. So that's very good.
Right. So even if you included what you projected and what the
Yes.
difference is, I think that would be
Yep.
just like what Mark has done, including some of the improvements to the fan experience. I think that just helps us, because I get asked a lot of questions about this building, and I refer to all these notes, and sometimes you say the words, but they're not in the written format. So I'm trying to okay, so yes, that would be helpful to me at least, if you could. And then if I could as well, the seating on the floor. Recently I had the opportunity to go to a concert in Minneapolis. This is probably a question for Mark and Kendra, but I sat on the floor at a Fleetwood Mac concert, and they put us in there like sardines. Of course, when the band started, everybody stood up, so you could sit down, but everybody stood up. But anyway, we were just scrunched in there, and it was really, tight. Are we intending to have the same? I know the idea is to maximize the seating and the sales of the tickets and all that, but with the projected counts that you're using for a concert, are those seats like snug, or we got some room on the floor?
Well, I think it's all your perspective of snug, right? You know, I think it would all go back to SMG. As a part of our seating package, we'll be buying, you know, folding chairs as well. That ties into the facility. But I would expect that there's a fairly standard approach when they set up for these facilities. Now, I don't know where that facility was that you went to, but you know, that's really operator driven. We can certainly pass on that comment to SMG.
Could you? It was the XL Center. It was you know, sitting next to my wife, so that wasn't bad. But the other person I didn't know, but I got to know him pretty good. And I just think we could just have a better than that, because that was real minimal, I thought. And
Okay.
I appreciate the value of number of tickets sold, but still we should have a decent fan experience. So, and one other final question for the.
Could we come back to you, Councilor Jameson? Is that possible? Sure. Please. Councilor Erpenbach, please.
Thank you. Question for Mark then. Mine's also about seating, and my advice for Councilor Jameson is don't ever buy seats on the floor. Just word to the wise. But my question is regarding club seating, and I've learned this whole thing about loge seating too, and maybe you're not the right person for this, but when it comes to club seating, if someone buys a club seat, do they then also get first dibs on Summit tournament seats, or, you know, maybe it is Darren that should answer this question.
Yeah, let's have Darren
Sorry, Mark.
speak to that. Yeah.
How does that work when someone has, and like the loge boxes too? I mean,
Yes.
How does that-
Well, those two are different. With the loge boxes and suites, when you purchase one of those, you get tickets to all events. Now, there will be some things that will still need to be negotiated with the Summit League in particular, and probably with any teams that would be tenants in the new facility. So some of that we still have to work out, but as a loge box owner or suite owner, you will get tickets to all events. Now, the club seats, that'll be a different model. You will essentially purchase a license to that seat, and then you will get right of first refusal on tickets that are available. So again, we'll have to work some things out with the Summit League and major events on those, and probably the tenants as well. But yes, in a nutshell, you will get right of first refusal, the first chance to purchase those tickets. You'll get X number of days, let's say 10 days hypothetically, to purchase those. If you don't, they go back in the Ticketmaster inventory, or the inventory for tickets to be sold. And then somebody else can buy those and sit in your club seat.
okay, great, thank you. If I might, Mr. Chair, I have a question for
One more, please.
Mike Cooper, please. This question is about, I took special note of your comments about people from out of town, and the configuration is going to continue to change for a while yet, I think. So parking spaces are going to change. What's been the conversation about how do we help those folks? Are we putting up new signs? How are we doing that?
There's about 3 things I can say. With the event sponsor, we're providing them with parking maps that they can send out either on their website, or if they do mailings or whatever. They can make that available to coaches, staff, public, to help people understand where the parking is available. Second of all, we'd be able to utilize the traffic engineering portable signs, the electronic message signs out on Russell, West Avenue, Western Avenue. As those are available, they can help direct people during these major events to available parking, whether it's McCart Fields or Elmwood. And we can continue with that in the future. And then we just talked about today with a new parking lot by operational services. Probably a lot of people don't know that that is available during the evenings. So again, we can look at what kind of signage we could add to make that more educational as far as what's available. So I think it's just can continue to make as much information available to people about what parking is available, and even looking at maybe putting up some more temporary signs around the facility itself, particularly for the bigger events that would be coming up like this fall for football games. We'll do that again.
Right, great, thank you. I've had a great experience, but it's a reminder then to folks, check the website, because it's changing all
That's
the
always the
time.
best source of information.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Ruffing.
Darren, could I, as part of the group that picked the legends, I know how competent they are. I also know how competent you are and how much you like to have your fingers in things. And so what I'm concerned about is in listening to how excited you are and how excited I get when I hear you say, yeah, we got, we've got all these sold in 29 minutes, and we got these sold in 3 days, and this, are we allowing, maybe I should say, are you allowing Legends to do their work?
Oh.
Or are you got your fingers in it too much and trying to, are we going to let them do their work in the club seats and
Well, you're
really
going
get
to
out
let
there
me
and do it?
answer,
Or
so
are we
I'm
going to
gonna-
let you do it?
You can expect the answer you're going to get here. No, absolutely. In fact, to be very honest with you, any indication, whatever credit I get is too much, because it's really Ryan Query with Legend Sales and Marketing, who's sitting about 3 rows back next to where I was. And then John Alper is somebody with Legend Sales and Marketing that you have met, Councilor Rolfing, but others maybe have not yet or have not seen on a regular basis. Actually, I think John might have been involved towards the tail end of the naming rights agreement, the title sponsorship. You will see more and more of them, but absolutely, they're leading this effort. We have a great communication system. We know everything they're doing and how they're doing it. That's very important. It's how they do it with other clients. But no, they're on the front lines. They're doing the meetings, the phone calls, and everything else. They make us look good.
Cooper.
Yeah.
Councilor Jameson.
I'd like to take back all my comments about Darren and give them to Ryan.
Yeah. That would be fair. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Actually, a question on on the ballot. When the question was asked not to spend over $115 million, the question is maybe to the city attorney: who is ultimately responsible to make sure it doesn't go over the 115? And what are the ramifications if we do?
Well, Councilor Jameson, I'd first, if I may, Mr. Chairman,
Please.
I would first respond that, again, that's the commitment of the council and the mayor, that will be the ceiling amount. The actual election was an advisory election. It was not required by law because this was not general obligation bonds. They were rather sales tax bonds. However, it is a commitment. There is no legal ramifications regarding going over that. There's no expectation that we will. Right. And thanks to Ryan's efforts, as we're learning today, it looks like in terms of operating costs going forward, we won't go over that. But also, in terms of some of the savings that we're going to have, I'm not aware of any projection that we would go over that ceiling amount.
Right, very good. I don't know either, but it just started to kind of dawn on me who's actually, we get the financial updates here from Tracy, and we watch and listen and see all this, but wondering, are we ultimately responsible for making sure that they don't go over? But it sounds like there really isn't a legal obligation to stay at 115. I get it. That's what I need. Thank you.
I might just add that I think a number of us, and we made that comment, I'm sure, Councilor Jameson, that if we got over 115, you'd let us know that we were over that number. But trust me, we made a significant commitment, a lot of us did, and when we went to the election to the people, it was for that dollar amount. So I feel very confident that we're going to be able to keep tabs on that. Mr. Cotter, please.
And if I could add, Chairman, on both sides, we set this project up with contingencies. The City of Sioux Falls with a $5 million contingency and Mortensen with nearly a $3 million contingency. We still retain just actually a little greater than $5 million in contingency funding. We're almost halfway through the construction. We still know issues can surface, so we're still being very cautious on how we utilize that contingency. But also Mortensen, they're required to deliver this project within the written scope of what we worked out for the guaranteed maximum price, and included in that is they still maintain a contingency of just over $2.7 million. And so we feel like we've set this project up to succeed in more ways than one, and it will come in on time and on budget.
Great, thank you. Are there any other questions of the council? There being none, I would like to thank the administration for their report, and I guess we look forward to another report in another couple of weeks, right?
Couple of months.
Another month. That's right. Sorry, my fault. 2 weeks is too soon. Anyway, that being said, I'd like to remind our viewers that we do have a joint Minnehaha County Sioux Falls meeting coming up at 5 o'clock. And that being said, I adjourn this meeting.